When Love Refuses to Leave. Kim Woo-bin and Shin Min-a's quiet confession that stunned early 2026. The first talk show of 2026 was supposed to be gentle. Warm lighting. Calm laughter. A soft celebration of love at the beginning of a new year. No one, neither the studio audience nor millions watching at home, expected that within an hour, the conversation would quietly redefine how people understood marriage, illness, fear, and hope. When Kim Woo-bin and Shin Min-a appeared together on the program, the atmosphere was exactly as anticipated: relaxed, affectionate, unguarded. It was their first joint talk show appearance since their private wedding on December 20th, held discreetly at Seoul's Shilla Hotel. The MC opened with congratulations, calling their marriage one of the calmest yet most meaningful unions of the year. The audience applauded warmly. Viewers expected reflections on newlywed life, quiet mornings, shared meals, perhaps a shy mention of a honeymoon. Instead, they witnessed something far rarer. They witnessed honesty without spectacle. A beginning that felt complete, but wasn't. At first, everything unfolded normally. Kim Woo-bin sat comfortably, posture open, voice steady. Shin Min-a smiled easily, her tone soft but assured. When asked to describe marriage in a few words, they exchanged glances before answering. Full, Shin Min-a said. Quiet, but with weight, Kim Woo-bin added. The audience laughed gently. The MC nodded, satisfied. It felt like closure, two people who had endured long years of public scrutiny now standing calmly on the other side of commitment. Nothing felt heavy yet. Then Shin Min-a inhaled slowly. There's something, she said, that I didn't plan to share today. But I think, if we're starting a new year, maybe it's time. The studio changed instantly. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But unmistakably. We almost didn't get married. Kim Woo-bin nodded before she continued. He didn't interrupt. He didn't reach for her hand yet. He simply agreed, quietly, visibly. Shin Min-a spoke carefully, choosing words that didn't accuse fate or glorify resilience. There was a period, she said, when we almost didn't get married. A ripple moved through the audience. It wasn't because of lack of love, she explained. It was because they weren't sure they were allowed to imagine a normal future. After Kim Woo-bin's cancer treatment years earlier, doctors had been honest, perhaps brutally so. The possibility of conceiving naturally would be extremely low. There were no promises. No timelines. No reassurance. Just uncertainty. That uncertainty settled into their relationship like a quiet third presence. The fear that followed recovery. Kim Woo-bin did not describe his illness again. He didn't need to. The public knew the headlines. What they didn't know was what came after survival. When people think recovery, he said, they imagine relief. But for us, it was silence. A lot of it. Doctors' warnings echoed in their private conversations. Friends' well-meaning questions hovered unspoken. Social expectations loomed without being voiced. They stopped talking about weddings. Not because they didn't want one, but because marriage invited questions they weren't ready to answer. Children. Timing. Plans. Futures. Questions that demanded certainty they didn't have. The thought that almost broke them. Kim Woo-bin admitted something he had never said publicly before. There were moments, he said slowly, when I thought Min-a deserved someone with fewer unknowns. The studio was silent. Someone who could promise more. Someone whose body didn't carry warnings. Someone whose future wasn't wrapped in medical footnotes. Shin Min-a shook her head immediately. I didn't choose a possibility, she said. I chose him. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't dramatize it. She simply stated it as fact. Redefining what enough means. They described a question they asked each other repeatedly, late at night, away from cameras and reassurance. If it's just us, Shin Min-a said, is that enough? They didn't answer immediately. They let the question sit. They lived inside it. They tested it through ordinary days, shared meals, quiet arguments, long walks without destinations. Eventually, the answer came. Yes. Yes, it was enough. Marriage, they realized, didn't have to be a gateway to expectations. It could simply be a place where two people stayed. Why speak now? After their wedding, Messages flooded in. Everything is perfect now. You've finally reached happiness. This is the ending everyone hoped for. But Shin Min felt uneasy reading those words. Perfection, she said, can be a very lonely label. And then something else happened. Something they hadn't planned to share yet, but could no longer hide behind silence. The revelation that changed the room. I'm pregnant, Shin Min said. There was no dramatic pause. No background music. No tears on cue. Just truth. She clarified immediately. This was not a simple journey. Not a spontaneous miracle framed for headlines. They had undergone medical support, careful treatment, constant monitoring. Nothing about it felt guaranteed. When they found out, they didn't celebrate loudly. They didn't announce it privately to many people. They waited. Every appointment carried fear instead of excitement. Every scan came with reminders not to expect too much. Hope, they learned, could be fragile. Living with fear, not beyond it. Shin Min admitted she is still afraid, every day. Not because she regrets the journey, but because love doesn't erase fear. It teaches you how to walk beside it. This child, she said, is ours. No matter what happens next. Kim Woo Bin didn't call it a reward. He called it grace. Something unearned. Something undeserved. Something that didn't cancel pain, but coexisted with it. Gratitude without illusions. Kim Woo Bin spoke of patience. Of prayer. Of effort without entitlement. But most of all, he spoke of presence. She stayed, he said. When the future was unclear. When bad news came more often than good. Shin Min never corrected him. She never claimed sacrifice. She simply stayed. A new definition of love. By the end of the conversation, the talk show no longer felt like entertainment. It felt like a shared confession. Shin Min offered one final reflection. Love isn't the absence of difficulty. Love is staying and adjusting. No grand promises. No cinematic declarations. Just continuation. The quietest ending. They didn't announce plans. They didn't promise certainty. They only said this. They are no longer walking alone. The applause that followed was slow. Respectful. Deep. Not for perfection, but for truth. Epilogue. A story that refuses to be simplified. This was not a fairy tale. It was fragile. Complicated. Unresolved in places. And that was precisely why it mattered. In early 2026, Kim Woo Bin and Shin Min didn't offer the public a flawless love story. They offered something rarer. A living one.